Welcome. I'm going to show you how to properly configure dynamic access control. Give you a little background on dynamic access control. It's actually a compilation of features. It's File Resource Manager, it's classifications, which I think originally appeared in 2008, file classifications, and using the claims to actually create a permission against an object, and specifically an object like a file. It is truly a unique feature. I've taught dynamic access control now for some time, and although I could not see using it, where we would see using it is in a high compliance situation where the contents of the file would dictate who has actual permission. And lots of times you put these controls in place for compliance. So although I would not see myself using it day to day, it is a pretty unique feature. And what I'm going to do right now is just get our test set up. I've just created a script to create the users. Whoops. Let me go ahead and get that set up. So, perfect. Alright, and you can find that script on networkminds.com. Just follow the link in the comments. So, what is our structure? I'm going to refresh that. Open up Contoso. I've created an OU underneath Contoso. There's all our groups. There's all our users. And I'm going to set up a problem, and we're going to solve it with dynamic access control. So, here's the problem. I have a number of techs, okay, tech 1 through 4, that are in the IT department. And I also have a researching group that both of those two together work on things. But what we're finding is that people in sales and marketing are releasing confidential information, so we need to put compliance in. Now, if I look at, well, let me just go to groups. If I look at the sales groups, a sales group rather, we can see that sales 1, 2, and 3 are in there, but also Tech 1. And Tech 1 is also in the IT department group. So you could see we got, Tech 1 through 4, and then we have a research user in the IT department. I don't want to throw you off there. I just mixed it up like that for other labs. So we can see Tech 1 is part of sales. And we can definitely go ahead and put like a deny in there, excuse me, a deny in there for sales. But what dynamic access control does is it will actually, depending on the contents of the file, deny anybody in the sales or marketing group. So here's the goal. It's actually rather simple. One, we're going to create a claim type, and we're going to create the claim type based upon their department. All right. We are going to create resource properties for the files, and I'll explain that a little bit better. It's what we're going to classify or the properties we're going to look against the files for. We're going to populate the resource property list. Alright, we're going to create a central access rule, and then we're going to create a central access policy and put that down onto the share. So I know it sounds really complex, and there are some steps to it, but it is rather simple, believe it or not. So now that we got our groups and our users created, perfect, right? Alright, I'm going to put that aside, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into group policy management, the GPMC, and let's see, we're going to go into Contoso. Let me just expand that a little bit better. I'm going to go into default domain controllers, and we are going to turn on Kerberos claims awareness. Let's see, it's under policies, admin templates, just make this a little bigger. There we go. System KDC, and it's KDC support for claims, compound authentication, and Kerberos armoring. And we're going to enable that. And the claims compound authentication for DAC is going to be supported. So now that I've done that, I can wait the 5 minutes for the background refresh on the DC, or I could just, as I always say, boil water. I'm going to GP update /force and boil the water. Okay, so it's not going to require a reboot. So the next thing that we need to do is, and I think well, it's fine. It's fine. I think I killed that before it was done. The next thing we need to do is open up the Active Directory Administrative Center. And active, let's see. There we go. Okay. The ADAC, which is somewhat new. Microsoft is building a lot of their new features into the ADAC rather than the ADUC, the Active Directory Users and Computers. So let's go ahead and configure this. So the first thing we need to do is click on Dynamic Access Control. We will click on Claim Type. And you'll notice there's an authentication silo claim type in here. We're just going to add a claim type. So let's expand that. So what I want to do is do it by department. So depending on what department you're in is going to give you different access. There it is. So I'm going to click the following values are suggested. Don't disregard the red bar. And we can actually use this for users or computers. So we're going to use it for users. And I'm going to add IT department. We are going to add sales. We're going to add research. And we're going to add, what was the other one? Marketing. Okay, so now we have our different values for the different departments. Now, I want to explain why I'm doing this, because it's actually a pretty necessary step to understand. So each one of my users has a department, and actually I messed up. I put IT department. It's just IT. Each one has a department. So you could see, techs are in IT, and research users are in research. So let me go ahead and fix that. Oops. Okay, so now I've got all my claims. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So now I have a claim here. Alright, and it is enabled. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a resource property. So we're going to double click into there, and we're going to use one of the ones that are already created for us. They're disabled, but we want to actually get confidentiality. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click on confidentiality. We can see there's a low, moderate, and high. It is an ordered list, and you know what? This actually looks good. I don't have to change anything here. So we're just going to go ahead and cancel on this. But what we're going to do is we're going to right click and enable it. Now, when we enable it, it should show up in the resource property list. Now, the reason why this is so important, the resource property list is going to be what we use to actually classify the files with. Trust me, you'll see. So we set up a claim type. Okay, we are claiming that the department is going to affect the user's permission by the department attribute. The resource property is confidentiality. I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to make sure that the properties list has our confidentiality in it. Now, the reason why this is important is because the global resource property list is going to be what actually gets downloaded to the file server so that we can classify files. Okay, so it's not as hard as as I'm trying to make it. It is confusing, okay, because there are a lot of pieces to this. It's not your NTFS permissions and share permissions. Alright, so now that we've got all of those together, now let's go ahead and create our central access rule. So there's nothing in here. I'm going to say new central access rule, and I'm just going to open this up here. Okay, confidential information. Whoops. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a condition. Resource confidentiality equals high. So if resource confidentiality equals high, then use the following permissions. And we're going to edit these permissions. Okay, I'm going to remove the owner. In a high confidentiality situation, we'd want to remove administrators too, so we're going to remove them. We're going to set a principal. The principal here is going to be IT, and we're going to give them modify rights. However, there's going to be a condition that applies. If the user is in a group and is not any member, so user group not a member of any group of sales, or marketing, then go ahead and allow them to actually have modify rights. So what I'm saying here is, if the Tech 1 is in the IT department group, okay, then he's allowed to have modify rights. But, and that's what this conditional limited access is, but if he's a member of either marketing or sales, then don't. So we'll OK that. We will OK this. Okay, so we can also create a research one. Modify, and we could say user department equals, and we can add one of the claims. Now, I know that, originally I set this up, I wanted to use the department claim, but I'm straight up using groups, and this is actually a pretty cool feature that I kind of stumbled upon when I was playing around with this. But we could actually say, hey, if this person's part of IT, you know what, we'll do the research. How about that? If this person is part of the research department, then go ahead and give them access. Okay, so we just created 2 rules for confidentiality information. We're going to go ahead and OK them. Okay, so now we have our dynamic access rule. We're going to have to create a dynamic access policy. Stay tuned for part 2, and as always, thanks for watching.